just love music. They run the show at night. Dropping beats and lineup tips, turning waiver wire into light. Fast lane pickups, midnight moves, setting rosters right. They'll tell you who to start and who to bite the fight. Listen to sports fireballs, rockin' renegades, crank it loud, crank it proud. Wanna win your fantasy league? Join the renegade crowd. John and Ralph know the way. They'll guide you through the fray. Starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Tune in and play. From sleeper calls to breakout stars, they break it down and play by play. Stats and stories, grit and guts, they sharpen up your day. Trade advice and matchup gold, they hustle for your pay. Putting fantasy in overdrive, carving out the way. Listen to sports rivals, rockin' renegades, crank it loud, crank it proud. Wanna win your fantasy league? Join the renegade crowd. John and Ralph know the way. They'll guide you through the fray. Starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Tune in and play. Late night hustle, early morning reads, they're scanning every game. Fast lane pickups, timely hits, they've got the instincts and the flame. No fluff, no noise, just real talk, no two hosts the same. John and Ralph, your fantasy compass, staking out the claim. Listen to sports fireballs, rockin' renegades, crank it loud, crank it proud. Wanna win your fantasy league? Join the renegade crowd. John and Ralph know the way. They'll guide you through the fray. Starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Tune in and play. Listen to sports fireballs, rockin' renegades, rock your roster every day. Fast lane pickups, John and Ralph know the way. Turn it up, set your line.
Hey, I love hearing that song. It's great having your own theme music coming in. Hey, week 6. Welcome to Rockin Renegades Sports Bibles Fantasy Football Talk. Hey, thank you guys for joining in. But tonight we have a sponsor. Again, Halftime Lounge. You guys want great food, great wings, great beer, cheap beer. Stop by Halftime Lounge in Baldwin, Cathel. Stop by, see Marissa and Gina, and tell them the guys from Rockin Renegades sent you. And always, my host for the week, he is our Sultan of Sack, our guru of the gridiron. Welcome, John. How you doing?
Sultan of Sack, man. It sounds kind of rough, but I gotta take that moniker away a little bit. Maybe keep it straight there, bud.
Hey, John, I want to, with it being so bad, I think it's going to be another week of chat of injuries and who to fill in. And, I got to tell you, for this, I got a candle lit. It's more of a funeral pyre for my team, the way it's been going down with the injuries. And hopefully tonight we can give everybody some insights on who to pick up and how to fill in. John, stand up. Let's see the jersey, the Andre Tippett jersey, man. The throwback.
Yeah, that's old school.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, that's from
throwback Patriots.
86 era. Yeah, the 86 era. That was before I, kind of couldn't stand the team when Tommy B got there. But
I understand.
And now I'm kind of back liking them again.
JT from behind the scenes said, just give her the Tippett.
That's it.
Hey, before we get down hot and heavy of start sits, pickups, and who to look to play this week, let's start on a positive note. How about the Rockin the fast lane player of the week? Who do we got, John? Who's your pick?
Man, Fast Lane Coffee, and you know what? This one was easy this week, and it was somebody that you wouldn't have expected to do that, and it's Rico Dowdle for the Carolina Panthers, taking over for Chuba Hubbard. Man, the guy puts up 206 and a touchdown, and the 206. I mean, he was strong the entire game. If you get to see parts, at least parts of this game, very very good. After the contact, he the amount of carries that he had, I believe it was 23 carries. But like I said, going through 23 carries, strong the whole game. Rico Dowdle putting up 206. Who expected that, man?
And I got to tell you, John, I hate that pick because as we talked about the injuries, Chuba Hubbard is now on my bench, so you can chalk that up to a guy that's sitting for me also.
And you know what? Chuba's on my bench now too, which is crazy. But
It's
you never
brutal,
know. I mean, is this going to be something that where Dowdle's going to take the carries away, or does Chuba come back and take that starting role back over? We don't know yet.
You got to wonder too, sneaking in on a back end is Etienne, maybe vulturing some touches too. But we'll see in a couple of weeks. Once Hubbard comes back, it's kind of hard to tell. I think Hubbard is still the stronger back in that backfield. But hey, like you said, got to give it up to Rico Dowdle, man. What a nice week for him, man. 2 touchdowns, 206 yards rushing. Anybody that picked him up or played him in DraftKings, you probably made your money this last week. So he was cheap.
That's right.
He was cheap.
That's right. You probably got him for what, $1 maybe, something like that.
He was probably like 4K when McCafferty was like 8.9K or something like that.
Right.
But if you guys have any questions, you want to ask about your lineups, who to start, who to sit, we're out here for your advice. With the injuries, John, let's anybody you want to talk about first on pickups that you want to look to, or where do you want to go? I know one guy or one team I was looking at, coming back, and is Green Bay. Love, he's still looking, after Reed went down, he's still looking for that big starting receiver. And, I still see him on waiver wires out there. And I don't know, the guy's always injured, but coming off IR is Christian Watson. Comes back this week. They got what, 21 days to bring him in and get him started. It might be a nice pickup there. I mean, Dobbs might be out there in some people's leagues too. 3 touchdowns the week before. A couple receivers looking for Love. What's your thoughts, John?
Well, we all know that it's easy for Love to find Dobbs out there with that helmet pad on top. He's an easy target. But I mean, if Dobbs is out there, that's who I would reach for. Obviously, I mean, you see the production. What's crazy about Dobbs is he's like hit or miss. He'll have a 3 touchdown game, and then he'll have 2 catches for 25 yards. You never know what you're going to get. But Christian Watson, Ralph, like you said, he when the guy's healthy, he produces.
He is. I mean, he was. You see, when he came back, his when he was a rookie, what's this is 3rd year now. But I mean, when he's healthy, I mean, the guy down the sideline, he can't be beat. It might be a guy you might want to stash, on your deeper leagues. Look for Christian Watson. But if Romeo Dobbs is there and, still on your, on the waiver wire, and like I said, he's only rostered in, I think, 50% of most of your leagues, still a pickup. A Love's going to throw. He's been throwing, a bunch. So, it might be a good pickup for your team.
He has been. It's surprising, too, how much he has been throwing. We always thought that, we're going to see a ton of Jacobs, which I know you're smiling about when you see Jacobs, carrying the ball with, with that team, with all the injuries you had too, so you want Jacobs to have 90 carries a game. But
That would be great.
Green
Him and Barkley, you two starting running backs, and I still can't win a game. I'm still 2-3.
it's rough. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anybody go through so many injuries in a season than you have this year. So,
It's brutal. We said at the beginning of the year,
you're out,
John.
man.
It's 90% luck. You can build
It
your
is.
team however you want, but it's 90% luck.
No
And
doubt.
speaking of luck, let's talk about San Fran. Um, who's going to quarterback this week? I mean, I think Purdy's still out with the turf toe. I know Jones has been banged up a little bit.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but if he does play, I mean, the injuries out there, like they just have McCafferty, right? With all the injuries they have, who are going to throw to? I mean, you have Kendrick Bourne to come in last week, and you vultured, 11 targets. If he's on a waiver wire, it could be a guy you could throw out there and use. And just remember, I know they said it's been a couple weeks. If Brandon Ayuk's still out there, it might be a guy to stash too. He might not be back for another 2 or 3 weeks, but he should be back this year, and might help you for your late playoff run. But what do you think about Kendrick Bourne?
You know what? I know a lot of you out there watch the game, and I'm sure you did too, Ralph. Knowing how much we love football, we watch everything. But I was really impressed with the way Bourne played in that game. I mean, not only was he open, it seemed like he was open the whole game, but I mean, contested catches and how tough he was, over the middle, and we didn't see that out of him, in New England. I mean, so let's if he's out there, I would say that he's worth at least another start this week. I mean, Drake already, he has the chemistry with him, so let's.
And if you're looking,
if he's out there, I would get him. I'd reach for
yeah,
him.
if you're looking for that wide receiver 3, or a flex play, it might be a guy that you could take a stash or take a chance on this week.
Agree.
John, as we keep going down the list, man, of teams and injuries, let's look at the Chargers. Marion Hampton going down. Harris going down before that. We're looking at a backfield with Vidal and Sean Haskins, and they just signed Hines. Naheem Hines they signed. This week. I'm guessing Haskins is going to get most. He's going to get most of the touches. Could be a good pickup. Good flex play. For guys who have Murray and Hampton, and the running backs going down and need somebody to fill in. Maybe a good pickup this week, or at least for the next 3 or 4 weeks until Hampton comes back. And the last thing I heard he was in a walking boot, and it doesn't sound good, but they're saying 3 to 4 weeks. So
that's what I heard too. And I have him in my work league, in my other league, Hampton, and I also have Bucky Irving. So 2 guys in walking boots the next few weeks. It's really tough when you take a hit like that. But we're talking about picking up guys off the waiver wire, and this is exactly what wins fantasy championships. A guy like you were talking about Vidal or Haskins. I mean, that's who I would go with. I mean, I would go with one of those two. I would think that, that right there is a crapshoot on how many carries. So I would say, one of those two, and then, see what you could get, and then see who wins in the end right there. I mean, it's worth a shot if you're a Hampton owner. I think so.
It seems like we just had the same talk last week about Arizona with Carter and D'Amico. It's
at the goal line too.
It's terrible.
I had him on my team too, and I started him in that league, in the other league too, because I had so many injuries. And you're like, yeah, he goes in, and then here we go. Well, I don't know what these guys think. I mean, it's unreal.
I don't know, man. It's I look at this and all you can do is shake your head sometimes, But hey, let's talk about a positive note. One of the guys we did talk about last week, and let's go to one of the teams in our division, to Cleveland, and we got a few things to talk about in Cleveland. And the first, what about Dylan Gabriel, man? 33 attempts, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. he looked almost like a starting quarterback, right?
Right. And what's nice is, if you have any of the Cleveland tight ends, Njoku, Fannin, this is where the guy was going.
He was.
So
I have Njoku too, and I didn't play him, but I also have Kelsey, so I played Kelsey over him. I mean, who would have guessed? He's using his tight ends. If the rookie tight end, Fannin, is out there, it's a pickup. If you have Njoku, he's a start, for you now.
Agree.
Good game. Good game. Kid played a good game. I was impressed with him. For not having the strongest arm. I mean, he looked halfway decent. He was on point. His passes were. He was putting his passes there. Maybe Cleveland found their future starter.
As long as he can keep out of the massage parlors and
Does he
that kind
become
of stuff, right?
Does he become 45th on that jersey that you see on the internet? Slung around, and maybe they
Right.
found their starter, and their old starter. Let's talk about Flacco for a minute. I guess Browning wasn't doing it for Cincinnati, and for them to send Flacco right across the same division. So here's the deal. I mean, what you get with Flacco. There's
That's
not a
right.
very high ceiling for him, but it's going to help Chase. It's going to help Higgins. Um, they're going to throw because their defense is so terrible. You look at Flacco; he was probably the worst starting quarterback in the league. Numbers wise, but I I still think it helps Chase and Higgins out.
I think so too. Not only Chase and Higgins, but you're looking at Joe Flacco. Is another guy that likes to use a tight end. And Mike Gesicki's out there, obviously. I mean, you knew that, that he was used a lot by Burrow. He started to pick it up, leaving Miami, coming to Cincy, with Burrow there. So that's another guy too. If you need tight end help, you see Flacco here. It's going to help Chase and Higgins. We know that already. And I know you're smiling because you have Chase. And
I
somebody's going to
do.
help this
I
guy.
need something out of those guys, man. I need something. Hey, John, have you been to the halftime lounge yet in Baldwin?
I have been.
Good. Yeah,
Yes.
great place, man. You get a chance. Anybody out there, if you're on the back end of Baldwin at Cathel, nice little bar in the South Hills. Stop at halftime lounge. Grab some food, grab some drinks, cheap drinks. Pool. I know on the weekends they have karaoke. Stop in and see them and tell them Ralph and John sent you. It's not going to help you get anything cheaper, but you can tell them that we sent you.
Just mention Rockin Renegades and give him JT's name.
That's right. That's right. Just to tell them, GT from Sports Bible, you're sure to get like double the bill. That's usually how it works.
Oh man.
But John, let's look at some other positions and some other teams. Let's look at Tampa Bay. Looks like Godwin's hurt again. I don't know how long it's going to be. They're saying he's having a fibia problem. Evans is still out, and obviously, if you're a Buka owner, it's a definite start to go. So
for sure,
I'm looking at what else here though.
That Tampa Bay team, with their receivers, I mean, they've had these issues every single year that and it's really a shame. But I'll tell you what, the guy that I really like, and I talked about this early in our podcast, even before the season started, is when he comes back is Jalen McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
That kid, teaming him up with Ibuku, eventually as the two starting receivers. I mean, this guy just did nothing but score touchdowns and won many fantasy leagues last year, including mine. So I don't know when he's coming back. I haven't seen the, any timeline on this yet. But when he comes back, that's the guy right there. I mean, he has chemistry with Baker. This is a team that's never going to give up. I think they win regardless of who they have at receiver, and we've seen that over the last couple of years, and even the games this year. With all
I think Baker's a winner, and that's what it comes down to. But one of the guys I'm thinking about looking at there right now for this week, if you're looking for a receiver pickup, is Sterling Shepard.
For
You
sure.
know, if and that's something you're gonna have to watch. The wire. If you see Godwin's not going to play, maybe reach out. Pick up Shepard. Could be a plug-in for a 1 week and see what happens with Godwin if he's back next week. And I mean, Mike Evans going to be close to returning too. So,
Right.
things will all fall into place with the next couple of weeks. But we're looking for a 1 week plug-in with Shepard.
Yeah, I mean, Baker's going to get him the ball. I mean, he spreads it around a lot. Um, when Evans comes back, this team every single year, gets in these, like I said, gets in these predicaments, early in the season. But when their guys come back, you get Evans back and that receiving core, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, the lineup is there, and their defense plays well. It's I know it's early to say it, but I think Tampa is going to make at least a little bit of a playoff run this year. I can see it happening when these guys all get healthy.
I got you. What about tight ends, John? We discussed like the tight ends down in Cleveland, with the rookie there, and then Njoku. But I seen that looks like Brenton Strange from Jacksonville is going on the IR, which brings back in Hunter Long. Now with them having the first round rookie receiver there, with them having what's his name? Brian who's the other receiver there, John? His name's Brian Thomas Jr. But Brian Thomas Jr. being there, and Brenton Strange was, he was looking pretty good. He was getting targets a week. Hunter Long might be a nice reach if you're looking for a bye week for a tight end, to play for a week or two until Strange comes back. What do you think, John?
I lost you there a little bit, Ralph.
Oh, sorry.
I lost
Yeah,
you there for a little bit, but yeah,
I was saying that Hunter
yeah. I
Long
think
might be a good pickup.
that Jacksonville team, yeah, I lost you again a little bit there.
You there?
But yeah, Hunter Long is a good pickup. I think that's where we're at. We're cut out a little bit there, but yeah, with Strange going down, I was looking forward to see what that kid would do because he was already starting out really good in that season. This season he was building a chemistry with
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 Lawrence.
Lawrence and but but Hunter Long, with the way that offense is set up, it seems like Lawrence this year, from what I'm seeing, is spreading the ball around a little bit more. It looks like he's a little more comfortable in the pocket. It looks like he's kind of happy with this defense, and they're letting him make plays. And they're trusting him to make plays, and that's what I like. What I'm seeing out of this, I think Jacksonville is Jacksonville's 4-1. I mean, who would have thought that?
Would have never guessed that at the beginning of the year, man. And well, first off, who would have thought Etienne would be running like the madman that he is? I mean, it's like he, lit a fire under him again, huh?
They did. I mean, when you have weapons like they have, they really do. It's a good young team. When they have weapons like they have, and when you have a quarterback now that's starting to trust himself a little bit. We thought, all these, last couple of years were like Trevor Lawrence, man, and is this guy done? But then to see him play this way this year, spreading the ball around, using these weapons, and that makes it easier for a guy like Travis Etienne.
Mm-hmm.
If the defense has to look out for, all these weapons here, that gives opportunities, to the running backs and other players, which is great to see. I mean, Etienne dropped a little bit these last couple of weeks. He hasn't been lighting it up like he was early. But, man, what are we going to, pick this team end of the season? I mean, 4-1 right now and an impressive 4-1.
No
Very
doubt.
impressive 4-1.
No doubt. It's like you said, it's nice to see them, on the uptick. It's nice to see them on the upswing. But John, we talked about it last week. Team on the downswing, man. What's going on with the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, we were talking about that in the chat, and really, I mean, John Harbaugh with this team, and we saw so many things out of this team over the years, and I think the main thing that we saw was that aggressive, tough defense, and this year, I mean, it's an absolute sieve. We see the injuries, obviously, that the injuries are there, but this team, even when everybody was healthy, just didn't look like the same Ravens. I mean, we see them every year, as Steeler fans, and there's respect there for the way these guys play because the toughness. We like to see it, but it's just, is this the end of the Ravens? I mean, what can we say
Maybe. I
here?
mean, you see the Rams coming in this week. You see now you talked about how bad, the defense has been. Kyle Hamilton, could miss this week. And you've seen this week, for your IDP people that are looking to toss a guy in, they just signed CJ Gardner-Johnson. Maybe Johnson, can help that secondary out a little bit. But I mean, it's been bad. I don't think I've ever seen, I don't ever recall the Ravens defense being as bad, even when they first came back in the league.
Right. And we could say this, and I know Ralph backs me on this. If you have Rams skill players this week, you're starting everybody.
No doubt.
I mean, maybe even the guys on the bench, I would start them because, Puka Nacua is going to go crazy on this. Matt Stafford has a huge game.
Williams.
Williams, just name it. Maybe Cooper Kupp comes back and dresses for this game as a Ram, and I'd even start him.
No doubt.
That's how bad that secondary is.
It is. It's been really bad. Hey, but as we're on IDP, John, one guy I want to talk about too is I just want to look into Philly. It looks like the next week or two, Nakobe Dean's going to come back, and a good team gets stronger. Nice middle linebacker. Like I said, if you guys are playing IDP and you might be short at linebacker, or going to need help the next couple weeks, you might be out there. Look for Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, good player when he comes back, and it's always good when these guys come back, off of IR. They're healthy. They have those fresh legs. And when you get a linebacker, like Dean, aggressive, tough. He's going to make a lot of tackles. He's going to make an impact. So, if you're looking for it, I agree with you, Ralph. That'd be somebody I would like to pick up. Maybe I'll get on after this show and pick him up for one of my leagues too. Now that we're talking, that's it.
You just came across the ticker there, John. Ravens 1-4, Jaguars 4-1. What's closer to the truth? What are you hanging your hat on?
That's a good question. You know what?
When we talked about the Ravens two weeks back, and I mentioned Henry. It's what is going on? Did he hit the 30 wall, man? What is going on with Henry? You said no, but 2 weeks after, what are you thinking now?
When you look at the I think with Henry, I don't think that I don't think he's hit the wall yet. And when you saw the a couple weeks ago the fumbles, we haven't seen out of him. But one thing that I did see out of him was the frustration that you usually don't see out of him. And I think that that has a lot to do with team morale outside of the field. I mean, what's that locker room like right now? I would have to say for that question right there at this point, I'm going to say that the Jacksonville at 4-1 right now is closer to the truth. Baltimore, we were talking about it, in the chat. Lamar Jackson with that hamstring issue. You're looking at the best running quarterback probably in NFL history with a hammy issue. That's a soft tissue. Yeah, it's going to take a while for that to heal. I mean, where are they at now?
That's going to nag him all year. So, But I don't know, John.
For sure. For sure.
It's been a downward spiral for some of these fantasy teams and fantasy players. But like I said, everybody, don't give up. You have questions, reach out to us. If you want to know who to play, who to pick up, we're here for you.
Right.
It's been a tough year for a lot of fantasy players. Just don't get disgusted with it. But anything closing for us, John? Any new coffee flavors? Anything you want to plug before we roll?
Yeah, I'm working on some new stuff right now. I'll be introducing it pretty soon. There's always things in the works. We got a new act that we're going to be announcing with RFL Entertainment, so you guys will be seeing that out there. There's always something going on, so keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and hit those waiver wires, like Ralph
Yes.
said. I mean, there's so many guys out here injured. IDP. I mean, I saw that Brian Branch is injured now.
Yeah.
Just guys like that. So stay on it. If you're in an IDP league, always remember that defense wins championships. You could have guys that that go down like Marion Hampton, for the Chargers, and you look on there, and like you said, you have Dean coming back for the Eagles, to make up for it. This guy, he gets 10, 12 tackles a game, comes back hot. That wins you a championship right there, man. So
yeah, it's something that should never be overlooked. But all right, John, we're about out of time. We want to thank you. We want to thank the Halftime Lounge for sponsoring us this week. Stop in, get some cheap drinks, some good food. Tell them that the guys from Rockin Renegades sent you. John, always a pleasure. Hopefully next week we can do some start and sits, and we don't have to talk about any injuries anymore. And let's cross our fingers that we're on a positive note next week, huh? Thank you guys very much. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sports Bible, and we'll see you next Wednesday.